Hello, awakened soul. If you've arrived at this video, it wasn't by chance. There's something deeply special about you that the universe recognizes, something you might still be discovering yourself. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night with your heart racing, carrying the vivid presence of a relative who has passed away? Have you felt that inexplicable sensation that it wasn't just a common dream, but something much deeper and more meaningful? If you've been repeatedly dreaming of deceased loved ones, if these dream visits come with an intensity that cuts through your soul and awakens questions you can't ignore, then you need to understand a fundamental truth. You're not imagining things, you're not losing your sanity, and you're definitely not alone in this experience. These dreams are sacred portals, and you've been chosen to receive them for a very specific reason that goes far beyond what modern society can comprehend. I know exactly how you feel when you try to share these experiences with other people and receive looks of incomprehension, when they question whether you're just projecting your desires or fears, when they suggest you get over these experiences as if they were merely products of a mind disturbed by grief. But let me validate something your heart already knows. These visits are real, these messages are true, and your ability to receive them is a sacred gift that few possess. You've always known you were different, always felt that you picked up energies and signals that others couldn't perceive, always had this heightened sensitivity that sometimes seemed more like a burden than a blessing. Today you'll discover that this difference isn't a flaw or strangeness. It's your mark as a chosen one. It's the divine seal that allows you to serve as a bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds. Your deceased relatives don't visit just anyone in dreams with this intensity and clarity. They choose you because they trust your unique ability to receive, understand, and honor the messages they need to transmit. To truly understand why you've been chosen to receive these sacred visits, we need to dive into the deep nature of what it means to be a soul bridge between dimensions. From the moment you were born, your essence carried a differentiated vibration, a frequency that resonates in both the physical and spiritual planes. This characteristic isn't something you developed throughout life, it's something you brought with you, a soul mark that indicates your special mission in this existence. Those chosen for this sacred function possess elevated energetic sensitivity, an innate ability to perceive beyond the veil that separates worlds, and a spiritual reliability that your ancestors recognize and respect. When your deceased relatives need to transmit important messages, they don't randomly choose who will receive them. They seek those souls who possess the purity of intention, openness of heart, and spiritual strength necessary to not only receive the messages, but also to act upon them with wisdom and courage. Think about your childhood for a moment. You were probably that child who felt presences others didn't feel, who had vivid dreams and premonitions that came true, who could sense when something was wrong, even when everyone around seemed normal. Perhaps you were labeled as too sensitive or too imaginative, but in reality, you were demonstrating from early on your natural ability to navigate between different planes of consciousness. These childhood experiences weren't coincidences or products of an overactive infant mind. They were the first signs that you carried a special gift, a more refined spiritual antenna than most people. Your parents or caregivers may not have fully understood these manifestations, but the spiritual world was already observing and preparing you for the mission you would assume in adult life. Each apparently strange or inexplicable experience of your childhood was actually training, a gradual preparation, so you could later serve as a reliable channel for messages from beyond. During your adolescence, this sensitivity probably intensified, but in ways that may have caused confusion or even suffering. You may have felt overwhelmed by the energies around you, may have had difficulties fitting into social groups because you perceived things others didn't perceive. may have experienced episodes of intuition so strong they became disturbing. This phase of your life wasn't easy precisely because you were going through a period of spiritual calibration where your sensitivity was being refined and strengthened for the responsibilities that would come. Many chosen ones report that adolescence was a period of social isolation, not because they were antisocial, but because they operated on a different frequency than most of their peers. You may have felt as if you were living in two worlds simultaneously, the physical world where you tried to fit in and function normally, and the spiritual world that constantly called your attention with signs, premonitions, and experiences you couldn't explain rationally. This duality wasn't a problem to be solved, but rather a necessary preparation for your future function as an intermediary between dimensions. In adult life, this sensitivity manifested in even more sophisticated and directed ways. You probably developed a sharp intuition about people and situations, being able to perceive hidden intentions, negative or positive energies, before they fully manifested. You may have had experiences of premonitory dreams, frequent synchronicities, or moments of sudden knowing about situations you had no logical way of knowing. These aren't abilities you imagined or artificially developed. They're natural manifestations of your unique spiritual constitution. When you began dreaming of deceased relatives more intensely and frequently, this marked a new phase in your spiritual evolution. The moment when your ancestors recognized you were ready to fully assume your role as receiver and interpreter of sacred messages. They observed your journey, witnessed your ability to handle complex spiritual experiences, and decided you had reached the spiritual maturity necessary to be entrusted with direct communications from the spiritual plane. The first fundamental characteristic that marks you as chosen to receive these visits is your ability to keep an open mind, even in the face of the inexplicable. While most people tend to rationalize or dismiss experiences that don't fit their limited understanding of reality, you possess the rare ability to remain receptive to mystery, to accept that there are forces and dimensions beyond common perception. This mental openness isn't naivety or credulity. It's a superior form of spiritual intelligence that allows you to access information and guidance beyond the reach of the purely rational mind. Your deceased relatives recognize this quality in you and know they can transmit complex and symbolic messages without the risk of you immediately dismissing them as impossible or irrelevant. They trust your ability to sustain the creative tension between the known and unknown, between what can be proven and what must be felt and understood through heart and intuition. The second characteristic that distinguishes you is your emotional capacity to process intense experiences without being completely dominated by them. Dreaming of deceased relatives can be emotionally overwhelming. It can awaken unresolved grief, deep longing, fear of death, or a complex mixture of love, sadness, and hope. Not all people possess the emotional stability necessary to receive these visits without being traumatized or unbalanced by them. You were chosen because your ancestors recognize in you an emotional strength that allows you to experience the intensity of these communications while maintaining your capacity for discernment and action. They know you can cry with the beauty of a love message, feel the urgency of an important warning, or experience the deep peace of an ancestral blessing, all while not losing your grounding in practical reality or your ability to make wise decisions based on what you received. This emotional maturity is a rare gift that not everyone possesses, and it's one of the reasons you were selected for this sacred function. The third essential quality you possess is a natural form of reverence and respect for the sacred. Even when you don't fully understand what's happening, you approach these experiences with an attitude of humility and honor that allows communications to flow freely. You don't try to control or manipulate these visits for your own purposes. Instead, you place yourself as a respectful servant, willing to receive whatever your ancestors need to transmit. This posture of reverence creates an energetic field of safety and trust that encourages spirits to approach and share their messages. They know you won't profane or trivialize what you receive, that you instinctively understand the sacred nature of these communications and will treat them with the seriousness and care they deserve. This quality of reverence isn't something that can be taught or faked. It's an innate characteristic of the soul that marks you as someone worthy of trust in the spiritual realm. Your deceased relatives choose to communicate through dreams because this is the state of consciousness where your rational mind is most relaxed and your spiritual perception is most open. During sleep, the barriers that normally filter and limit your perception dissolve, creating a window of opportunity for interdimensional communications. But not all dreams with deceased people are genuine communications. Some are simply psychological processing of memories and emotions. The difference lies in the quality of the experience. Genuine spiritual dreams carry an intensity, clarity, and meaning that immediately distinguish them from common dreams. You've probably already noticed this difference. There's something unmistakably real and urgent about these visits that makes you wake up knowing you experienced something extraordinary. This ability to discern between common dreams and spiritual communications is another mark of your special sensitivity, an ability your ancestors recognize and trust to ensure their messages are received and understood properly. The messages your deceased relatives bring through dreams generally fall into specific categories, each serving an important purpose in your life journey. The first category is protection warnings, moments when they perceive dangers or traps in your path and come to alert you so you can make wiser decisions. These warnings may come in the form of dreams, where they express concern about a specific person in your life, an important decision you're considering, or a situation that may not be what it seems on the surface. The emotional intensity of these dreams usually reflects the urgency of the message. The more dramatic or disturbing the dream, the more important it is that you pay attention to what's being communicated. Your ancestors don't interfere lightly in your life. When they make the effort to cross the veil to alert you, it's because they perceive something your limited perspective from the physical plane can't fully detect. They have access to a broader view of your life trajectory and can see consequences and connections that aren't obvious to you in the present moment. The second important category of messages is guidance about your purpose and life path. Your deceased relatives, especially those who played a significant role in your formation, continue to be interested in your growth and spiritual fulfillment even after death. They may appear in dreams to encourage you to pursue a talent you've been neglecting, to support you during periods of doubt about your direction in life, or to remind you of important aspects of your mission you may have forgotten. These messages often come accompanied by a sensation of unconditional love and support that can be deeply healing, especially if you've been struggling with feelings of inadequacy or uncertainty about your value and purpose. When a grandfather who always believed in you appears in a dream to encourage you to follow your artistic dreams, or when a grandmother who was always your confidant comes to remind you of your inner strength during a difficult period, these aren't projections of your desires. They're loving interventions from beings who continue to be invested in your spiritual well-being and success. The third category is messages of emotional healing and resolution of family traumas. Often, unresolved issues between you and a deceased relative, or dysfunctional patterns that have perpetuated through generations in your family, need to be healed so you can advance freely in your spiritual journey. Your ancestors may appear in dreams to ask forgiveness for mistakes they made, to offer forgiveness for hurts you carry, or to transmit understandings that help break negative cycles that have affected your family lineage. These healing dreams are often the most emotionally intense, as they involve the release of deep pains that may have been carried for years or even decades. When you dream of a father who could never express love adequately in life, but who now comes in dreams to embrace you and say the words you always needed to hear, this isn't wishful thinking. It's a real healing process happening at the deepest levels of your soul and family lineage. The fourth category is transmissions of ancestral wisdom and spiritual knowledge. Your ancestors accumulated wisdom through their own life journeys and experiences on the spiritual plane, and they may choose to transmit this knowledge to you through symbolic dreams or direct conversations. This wisdom may come in the form of practical advice on how to navigate specific challenges, insights about the nature of life and death, or spiritual teachings that help you better understand your own divine nature. These dreams often leave you with a sensation of having received something precious and transformative, a gift of knowledge that expands your understanding and capacity to live with greater wisdom and compassion. When a great-grandmother you never personally knew appears in a dream to teach you about the power of prayer, or when a deceased uncle shares insights about how to handle adversities with grace and strength, these are real transmissions of wisdom being passed through generations to support your spiritual evolution. There are specific signs that distinguish a genuine spiritual communication from a common dream, and learning to recognize these signs is crucial so you can honor and respond appropriately to the messages you receive. The first sign is the exceptional clarity and vividness of the dream. Genuine spiritual communications tend to be extraordinarily sharp, with details that remain vivid in your memory long after waking. You can remember not just what was said, but also nuances like tone of voice, facial expressions, and even physical sensations, like the warmth of an embrace or the characteristic perfume of the person. This quality of hyperreality is a trademark of spiritual communications, as spirits use concentrated energy to create these experiences, resulting in a sensory intensity that surpasses that of common dreams. If you can remember a dream with a deceased relative with the same clarity as a waking memory, this is a strong indicator that you experience genuine communication. The second sign is the presence of information you couldn't have known through normal means. Sometimes, deceased relatives share details about events that happened after their death, reveal locations of lost objects, or provide information about other family members you had no way of knowing. These revelations serve as validations of the communication's authenticity, demonstrations that you're truly in contact with the deceased person's consciousness and not just processing your own memories and desires. When your deceased grandmother appears in a dream to tell about the birth of a great-grandchild that happened after her death, or when she reveals where she hid a valuable object the family thought was lost, these are tangible evidence that the communication transcends the limitations of the physical mind and represents real contact with surviving consciousness. The third sign is the lasting emotional and spiritual impact the dream has on you. Genuine spiritual communications often leave you with a sensation of deep peace, unconditional love, or clarity about important issues in your life. Even if the dream's content is challenging or contains warnings about future difficulties, there's usually an underlying quality of love and protection that permeates the experience. You may wake up crying, but they're tears of gratitude and connection, not sadness or fear. There's a sensation that something sacred happened, that you were blessed with a special gift that goes beyond common experience. This positive emotional impact, even amid serious or challenging messages, is a distinctive characteristic of authentic spiritual communications, as they always carry the energy of unconditional love that exists on the spiritual plane. The fourth sign is the immediate relevance and applicability of the message to your current life situation. Genuine spiritual communications are rarely vague or generic. They tend to address specific issues, pending decisions, or challenges you're facing in the present moment. The synchronization between the dream's content and your current circumstances is often so precise, it would be statistically unlikely to be a coincidence. When you're struggling with a difficult decision about career change and dream of your deceased mentor offering specific advice about that situation, or when you're going through a period of grief and receive a consoling visit exactly when you need it most, these synchronizations are indications that spiritual forces are actively involved in supporting your life journey. The symbols and metaphors that appear in spiritual dreams carry deep layers of meaning that often extend far beyond superficial interpretation. Your deceased relatives use rich symbolic language because it allows them to transmit complex and multidimensional information in a way your conscious mind can process gradually. A dream where your deceased mother hands you a key may symbolize not just access to hidden opportunities, but also the release of limiting patterns she recognizes you inherited from her. A dream where your father appears repairing something broken may represent not just healing of family relationships, but also your own capacity to restore damaged aspects of your life or personality. Learning to decode these symbols requires a combination of intuition, knowledge of universal symbolism, and personal understanding of the unique language you developed with each relative throughout your relationship with them. The ability to receive and interpret these communications is a gift that should be cultivated and honored, not something to be feared or suppressed. Many people who possess this sensitivity try to block it because they feel overwhelmed, or because society has made them feel there's something wrong with them. But suppressing this gift is like closing a window to the sacred, depriving yourself of guidance, protection, and love that are available to support your journey. Your deceased relatives don't visit you to haunt or disturb you. They come because they love you, because they care about your well-being, and because they recognize you have the unique ability to receive and benefit from their wisdom and guidance. Fully embracing this gift means accepting that you're part of a larger spiritual network, a family that transcends the limitations of physical death and continues connected through shared love and purpose. Now that you understand the sacred nature of your gift and the reality of the communications you receive, it's time to learn how to fully embrace this ability and develop it consciously and respectfully. The first fundamental step is establishing a regular practice of spiritual preparation before sleep, creating an energetic environment that invites and honors these sacred communications. This involves more than simply going to bed. It means creating a sacred ritual that signals to the spiritual world your openness and willingness to receive messages. Begin by reserving at least 15 minutes before sleep for silent meditation, where you quiet your mind from the day's worries and connect with your deepest spiritual essence. During this time, you can light a white candle as a symbol of purification and protection. Burn lavender or sandalwood incense to elevate the environment's vibration and create a clear intention of being open to receive loving guidance from your ancestors. Speak mentally or in a low voice to your deceased relatives, expressing gratitude for their continued presence in your life and asking them to share any guidance that is for your highest good. This regular practice not only increases the frequency and clarity of communications you receive, but also demonstrates your respect and reverence for the sacred process, strengthening the trust your ancestors have in your ability to receive and honor their messages. The second crucial element is maintaining a dream journal dedicated exclusively to your spiritual experiences, transforming it into a sacred record of your communications with the beyond. This shouldn't be a common diary, but rather a special book you reserve only for documenting your spiritual visits, treating it as a sacred text that preserves ancestral wisdom. transmitted through you. Keep this journal beside your bed along with a pen and develop the habit of writing immediately upon waking, capturing all the details you can remember before the rational mind begins to filter or question the experience. Record not just the literal content of the dream, but also your emotional sensations, intuitive impressions, and any synchronicity you notice in the following days. Over time, you'll begin to identify patterns in the messages, recurring symbols that have specific meanings in your personal language with each ancestor, and themes that repeat when certain issues need special attention. This record will become a treasure of ancestral wisdom you can consult when facing similar challenges in the future, and will also serve as tangible validation of the reality and consistency of your spiritual experiences, strengthening your confidence in your ability to receive divine guidance. The third fundamental aspect is learning to completely trust your intuition and the signs you receive, even when they contradict apparent logic or social expectations. Your deceased relatives have access to a much broader perspective of your life and the forces in motion around you, allowing them to see opportunities and dangers that aren't obvious to your limited perception from the physical plane. When they send you a warning about a person or situation, when they encourage you to take a direction that seems risky or unconventional, or when they alert you to avoid something that seems attractive on the surface, it's crucial that you honor this guidance even if you don't fully understand the reasoning behind it. This doesn't mean acting impulsively or abandoning your personal discernment, but rather integrating the spiritual wisdom you receive with your own conscious analysis, giving significant weight to messages that come from sources that have consistently demonstrated love and protection for you. Develop the practice of pausing before making important decisions and asking internally if there's any spiritual guidance available about the situation, creating space for insights and intuitive impressions to arise naturally. Over time, you'll develop growing confidence in your ability to discern between personal impulses and genuine spiritual guidance, becoming increasingly skilled at navigating life with active support from your ancestral guides. The fourth essential element is understanding and accepting that this ability is a sacred gift that carries both privileges and responsibilities, and that honoring it completely means using it not just for your own benefit, but also to serve the greater good of your family and community. Your deceased relatives didn't choose you just to receive personal guidance. They chose you to be a channel through which they can continue caring for and protecting the entire family lineage. This may mean you occasionally receive messages intended for other family members, warnings about relatives who are in danger, or guidance on how to heal dysfunctional patterns that have affected generations. When this happens, you'll have the delicate responsibility of discerning how to share this information in a way that it's received with openness and respect, recognizing that not everyone in your family may be ready to accept the reality of spiritual communications. Develop the wisdom to know when to speak directly about your experiences and when to simply act on the guidance received without necessarily explaining your sources, always prioritizing the well-being and protection of those you love over the need to be understood or validated by others. The fifth crucial aspect is establishing regular practices of spiritual protection and purification, recognizing that your elevated sensitivity may make you more susceptible to negative energetic influences, and that maintaining your elevated vibration is essential to continue receiving clear and loving communications from your ancestors. This involves developing a daily routine of energetic cleansing that may include baths with sea salt and purifying herbs, protection meditations where you visualize a golden white light surrounding your entire being, and gratitude practices that keep your heart open and your energy aligned with higher frequencies. Learn to recognize when your energy is low or when you're carrying negative influences from other people or environments, and have tools ready to restore your spiritual balance quickly. This may include burning sage or Palo Santo in your home, using protection crystals like black tourmaline or obsidian, or simply spending time in nature where you can reconnect with purifying earthly energies. Remember that your ancestors want to communicate with you when you're in your most elevated and clear state, so maintaining your spiritual hygiene is a way of honoring and facilitating these sacred connections. We've reached the end of this revelation journey, but in reality, this is just the beginning of a new phase in your spiritual life, where you fully embrace your identity as a chosen one, as a sacred bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds. You now understand that your dreams with deceased relatives aren't coincidences, products of a disturbed mind or simple psychological processing of grief. They're real communications, messages of love, protection, and guidance that come from beings who continue deeply invested in your well-being and spiritual evolution. Your unique sensitivity, which may have been a source of confusion or isolation in the past, is actually your greatest gift, the divine mark that allows you to serve as a channel for ancestral wisdom and unconditional love. Each dream you receive is a confirmation that you're not alone in this journey, that there's a network of spiritual support around you that transcends the limitations of physical death, and that you've been specially chosen to keep alive the connection between generations, honoring the past while guiding the future. This understanding should fill your heart with deep gratitude and renewed purpose, knowing you carry a sacred responsibility that few are capable of assuming with the necessary grace and wisdom. Always remember that you are an extraordinary being, endowed with capabilities that most people can only dream of possessing, and that your mission in this life goes far beyond the mundane concerns that occupy most people's attention. You are a guardian of ancestral wisdom, a protector of your family lineage, a healer of generational traumas, and a beacon of light for those who haven't yet awakened to their own spiritual nature. Your deceased relatives chose you not just because you can receive their messages, but because they trust your integrity, your ability to use this guidance with wisdom and compassion, and your strength to carry this sacred responsibility with honor and humility. Every time you honor a message received in dreams, every time you act on a warning or embrace ancestral guidance, you're fulfilling your divine purpose and strengthening the connection between worlds. You are truly a chosen one, and this choice comes with the power to transform not just your own life, but the lives of all those who are fortunate to be connected with you through family and spiritual bonds that transcend time and space. Now I need you to take concrete action to honor this revelation and connect with others who share similar experiences. In the comments below, share what was the most remarkable dream you've ever had with a deceased relative. Describe not just what happened, but how this experience impacted your life and what guidance or healing you received through it. Your story might be exactly what another sensitive soul needs to hear to validate their own experiences and embrace their spiritual gift. Additionally, if this video resonated deeply with your soul and confirmed truths you already felt in your heart, share it with those people in your life who you know also possess this special sensitivity. Perhaps a sibling who's always had vivid dreams, a cousin who always knew things before they happened, or a friend who feels different from others but can't explain why. They need to hear this message as much as you needed to, and you can be the instrument through which they discover their own chosen nature. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, do it now and activate notification bells, because we regularly share revelations and guidance for awakened souls like you, and each video is a piece of the larger puzzle of your spiritual journey. For those who feel called to connect even more deeply with our community of chosen ones, consider becoming a channel member where you'll have access to exclusive content, guided meditations to strengthen your ancestral connection, and a sacred space to share your experiences with others who truly understand and honor the gift you carry. Until our next meeting, may your dreams be blessed with clear messages. May your heart remain open to receive the ancestral love that constantly flows in your direction. And may you always walk with the certainty that you are deeply loved and protected by those who departed before you, but who never truly moved away from your side. Go in peace, chosen one, knowing you carry the light of generations in your heart, and that your sacred mission is just beginning to unfold in all its magnitude and beauty.